Hello, I'm Martin Lewis from MoneySavingExpert.com. The Chancellor has just sat down after delivering his 2024 budget, and I want to run you through the main consumer finance changes and my analysis of them. Of course, I don't do macroeconomics or public policy. It's just what affects your pocket. Now, the big things we'll be looking at: national insurance has been cut by 2%. What does that mean? There's changes to child benefit that I'm very happy about because I've been campaigning hard on that one. There's going to be a new British ISA, a new British savings bonds. There's debt help. There's changes to universal credit loans. But I'm afraid that there are no changes to the lifetime ISA, which I'm disappointed about, but I don't think that one's off the table for the future. Now, this was, from a consumer perspective, an election budget. There were lots of small changes that should put money in people's pockets. Of course, you have to weigh that against the changes to our public services and the fact that their budgets are not going to be going up with inflation. I'll leave that for other people. I just want to focus on what this means for you. First of all, national insurance is to be cut by a further 2 percentage points from the 6th of April. I'm going to split this to employees and the self-employed. First, employees. Employees were paying 12% before the 6th of January, then it dropped to 10%, and from the 6th of April, it will drop to 8%. So that is a total 4% cut, and the new announcement is a 2% cut today. Now, that is on the national insurance that you pay on earnings between £12,570 and £50,270. So a very simple, easy way to think about this. For each 10 grand you earn above £12,500, you gain £200. So if you earn £22,500, you gain 200, 32,500, you gain 400, 42,500, you gain 600. And if you earn the maximum 50,270 quid that this affects, then you're gaining around £750 in total. And that gain, and I'm only talking about the gain from this specific cut, then carries on for people who earn above that amount. Now, when you look at what the Institute for Fiscal Studies says, how does that factor in with the fact that tax thresholds have continued to be frozen, which is fiscal drag, which is how the Chancellor's been bringing in more money? Because, of course, as wages go up and inflation goes up and people earn more and the tax thresholds are the same, you're paying more tax. So what it said would happen in this scenario: those earning under £12,500, it wouldn't change. Those earning 12.5 grand to around £26,000 will be roughly the same or marginally worse off. It depends exactly where you are in that. Those earning 26 grand to £60,000 will now be better off. The total 4% cut in national insurance outweighs the freezing of the threshold, and those who earn over £60,000 will be very marginally worse off once you factor everything in. Hope that makes sense. Let's move on to the self-employed. Now, we haven't seen any national insurance cuts for the self-employed because they were all planned to happen on the 6th of April. So now they will be bigger. The main class 4 contributions, that's the one you just pay on what you earn, were due to drop from 9% to 8%. They're now going to drop from 9% to 6%. Also, and this was announced in the autumn statement, class 2 national insurance contributions, which is the fixed weekly amount of £3.45 that you pay, that's gone. You'll still earn your national insurance years, don't worry about that, but you'll no longer have to pay that £3.45 from the 6th of April, and that is for people who earn above £6,725. If you earn less than that, you can still make voluntary contributions to get your national insurance years, because that's quite important for what state pension you will get in retirement. I hope that was simple enough. Let me move on to child benefit. Now, I'm very happy about this. I did actually speak on the phone to the Chancellor before the budget this morning under strict embargo, and he told me it was due to the campaigning of Money Saving Expert and my telly show. We were the loudest voice on making this change happen, and that is down to you. When I asked what you wanted me to ask the Chancellor about when I interviewed him for my show in January, a third of you said the child benefit higher income charge. And it was so many of you that messaged that, frankly, I believe is what got the Chancellor to finally address this. It's been happening since 2013. It's been addressed. And I'm going to read out to you Alan's question that I read to the Chancellor. He said, "My son's partner tragically died 34 days after giving birth to twins. My son's taken a new job that now pays him 60 grand and is struggling with the cost of living and mortgage repayments after the loss of a second income." So the total income's gone down. HMRC has asked him to repay the child benefit. This seems grossly unfair that a couple can bring in nearly £100,000, but a single breadwinner loses out once they earn more than half of this. Are there plans to change it? Well, there are now. And when I pushed the Chancellor on it, he admitted to me in the interview that it was unfair. So what's going to happen? Now, actually, he's done pretty much exactly what I asked him to do. I knew there was no way they were going to be able to change to a family income measurement, because the real unfairness is for single parents or single earners. You know, you can earn £60,000, you get nothing. Your neighbours both earning £49,000 each still get the full amount. But that was never going to be a quick fix. So there's a consultation on that to move HMRC to family income from 2026. The reason it won't be quicker is the Chancellor says some people will raise objections about civil liberties, which is why they have to consult on how you do it properly. But in the meantime, exactly what I asked him to do, so I'm pleased he's listening at least on this one, is not an approval of the whole budget. I'm just pleased on this in isolation. It's not a political statement. Is currently, and since 2013, you've started to have to repay through the higher income child benefit charge. There's various different ways that you can do it. Child benefit on earnings above £50,000. That's from April going to be earnings above £60,000. And you then get no child benefit if you earn over £60,000 currently. From April, that's going to be no child benefit if you earn above £80,000. So it will taper out and you will still get some gain on earnings up to 80 grand, which I think is, while it doesn't solve the family problem, it at least takes a large number, hundreds of thousands, if not millions, I've not seen the data yet, of people who are paying that child income, that higher income child benefit charge out of that system. It means they don't have to do self-assessment, which is very cumbersome. And I'm seeing it as a win. Just as an aside, there's a similar system on the tax-free childcare system, which is where if you're working or both of you are working in dual income families, you get effectively 20% money towards paying for childcare. That cuts off if you have a single earner over £100,000. The consultation will be looking at making that family income as well. Now, a couple of quickies. Debt relief orders, which is a sort of cut down form of bankruptcy for people who have limited assets. You currently have to pay 90 quid to get them, which is just wrong, because many debt counselling agencies have been campaigning on this, because these are some of the poorest people who are trying to deal with their debts, but they can't afford to stump up the 90 quid to do it. Well, from April, that charge is going, and that's a great campaign by Citizens Advice. Universal credit advances, these are emergency loans. Say the roof falls in and you need money while you're on university credit. Currently, you have to pay them back out of your universal credit out of over 12 months. That's going to be spread to over 24 months. So it takes less of your universal credit each month. It's an interest-free loan. If you want to repay it quicker, you can. But I think that is also a good positive move for some people on the lowest incomes, because I mean, you have an emergency and it takes a hit of your disposable income. And the household support fund that many local councils have been lobbying for has been extended for 6 months. I think it will need longer than that. And that is what gives emergency support to families who are really struggling, the poorest families across the country. The Chancellor's announced a British ISA to be consulted on and probably happen later this year. Currently, your ISA allowance is £20,000, but there'll be an additional £5,000 if you're investing, not saving, investing money into British assets. So British stocks and shares and other similar assets. So we'll see that later in the year. And NS&I is going to release a British savings bond coming in April. We don't know the rate yet. Basically, it's a 3-year bond. You might want to invest in Britain, but if you're looking at rate, I hope to see it above 5%. Otherwise, it's no difference to whatever else is on the market. The only advantage would be if you could put in more than £85,000, then because NS&I is state-owned and therefore has total safety, it would be good protection on the money for those who were putting in over 85 grand. It's not an issue most people have to deal with. Quick ones, fuel and alcohol duty are frozen. There's lots of, we haven't gone with the fuel duty levy. That's all nonsense. Basically, each year the Chancellor decides what they're going to do to duty in the budget. Fuel and alcohol duty are pretty much frozen. Air passenger duty is going up, and it's going up more for non-economy flights, which includes premium economy. And the final thing I'll finish on, just let me get me notes. Look, the other big campaign as well as child benefit I've been doing is about the lifetime ISA, specifically the penalty that first-time buyers have to pay to get their money out if they're buying a property above the £450,000 limit. I was hoping the Chancellor would wipe it in those circumstances. When I spoke to him this morning, he said he wouldn't. But I want to read to you what he said to me. I noted it down at the time. He said, It is a shame. I wanted to do a big home ownership package, but that doesn't work until property prices are definitely rising, and I still have to keep an eye on overall borrowing. He also told me he wants to do more than remove the penalty. He wants to reform LISAs totally. Now, I am pretty disappointed because I think removing the penalty as a short-term fix could have been done anyway. I think it would have rescued many young people who are having to give the state some of their savings when they buy their first property. But at least it means the door isn't closed, and whatever government we have in future, I will continue to campaign to make sure that that is improved. My job today was not to make you judge the budget. It's far more than about just the consumer finance, but I hope I've given you a little bit of insight of what this may mean practically for the income that comes straight to your pocket.